That was the US Secretary of State. How has the Russian media been reporting this trip and this visit? With me is the Russia editor from BBC Monitoring, Vitaly Shevchenko. Vitaly, welcome here to the programme. How much coverage has this Pompeo visit actually got?
A lot. It's clearly the top news of the day currently. They're very excited that Washington is talking to Moscow despite all the differences. But having said that, there's no feeling of reverence or admiration of what Trump is doing. For example, one of Russia's top official TV channels, they broadcast a special edition of their flagship talk show. And one of the guests called Trump a Pinocchio, who's been pecking at all those complicated international problems with his little wooden nose. And another guest called Michael Pompeo a clown. So clearly there's no love lost between Russian state media and officials in Washington. And what Russian state TV is saying matters, because this is clearly where most Russians get their news from.
In terms of what matters, we heard in this news conference and the various statements they've made to camera, those areas where they tried to make progress, to have small steps which both agreed on. But then when you got to the areas where they were quite frank about, where they disagreed, I mean, the gulf was quite telling on several areas, whether it's from Syria to Venezuela to Iran.
It certainly is, and the attitude displayed by the Russian media is similarly ambivalent. On the one hand, they see Trump as a David fighting the Goliath of the American political establishment, which they say is anti-Russian. On the other hand, they're still saying that America is the enemy, a cunning and greedy adversary, not unlike how it was seen back in the Soviet era.
Just a brief final answer. Do you think there is a mood of feeling that you can see from what you have been monitoring, that the Russians actually want almost a factory reset on relations?
There's definitely the mood music coming from Lavrov and the Russian media. They are hopeful, they are open, that's what they're saying.
Vitaly, thanks very much for that analysis of those meetings and statements to the media we've had in the last couple of hours. Thank you so much. Now, before we went to that latest news conference, we were looking at India's general election. So let's return